Hello, hi. So, hello,
Hi.
Colin. Hi, Gafnit.
Hi,
Uh,
nice to
Good
see
evening
you.
here. Yes. And what time is it in Brazil now, Colin?
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Brazil. Hi, Karni. Hi, Gafnit. Thanks for inviting me today.
You're very, very welcome. So, here in Israel, it's 7 in the evening, and today we invited Colin to join us. It's a very special time today. And tomorrow is the solstice. So first of all, if you're here, say hello, write your name, where you're from, say hi, post your hearts and comments so we know that you're there. And today we're going to talk about the very special time we are in. So tomorrow, here in the North Hemisphere, where we are, Gufnita and myself, is going to be the shortest day of the year. And for you, Colin, it's going to be the longest day of the year, which now
That's right.
I doubly understand why we invited you. I thought we were inviting you because Gufnita and I have no clue about Christmas, and we wanted to ask you about the esoteric meaning of Christmas. But now I understand that it's very, very unique to have this
Yes.
conversation held from the two hemispheres of the world. So, and of the brain. So, so it's really, really great. So I'll say hello to our friend Eleni from Cyprus. It's uh, it's wonderful to see
Hi.
you. Hi. And Ana Maria Perez is here from Switzerland, and she
Hi,
was
Anna.
also with
Hi.
me in the fleet in Italy in our retreat and in Egypt in our journey. And she is also in the Ruby Mountain with Colin and myself, and we'll talk a bit about that as well. Hello to our friend Ursula from the UK. It's really, really, really wonderful to see everybody. So continue to say your hellos. We have a lot to cover today. We have the solstice, we have Christmas. The main reason for this conversation is that because we're heading towards a very, very special and unique time. And if we're not aware of the energy that is coming in and surrounding us during this time, it's not that we're going to miss it, it will pass through us anyhow, but we can be so much more, we can receive so much more from it if we are aligned to it, if we understand what is this energy of the time. And today we're going to explain a lot about the esoteric meaning of the solstice and Christmas and what to think about or do or try to feel during this time. So I'm also saying hello to our friend Amanda from Brazil. Hi, hi.
Hi.
Um, yeah, so this is the beginning. Maybe I'll present in a few words. I think most of the people who are saying us know Gafnita and myself, but maybe I'll say a few words about you, Colin, and then I'll let you also present yourself if I missed something. But Colin,
If there's something good you miss, I'll come in afterwards and edit it.
exactly, exactly. So Colin. Well, he teaches spirituality for years actually, and he gives lessons which are very very alive and including not only the brain but also the body with esoteric meanings. And he has a group that runs in Brazil for how many years now, Colin?
17 years.
17 years. And also, he teaches online in the Ruby Mountain, which is a live Zoom meetings together with written materials. And it's so unique because it really allows people to do their spiritual journey with themselves, but also with the group, and we'll make sure that there is the link to join it later on. Colin did it, and he's the author of a very new book, right? That,
Yeah,
so now
it'll
to
come,
you, Colin. Few
it'll
words.
come out
Tell us, tell us.
January 1st, 2023. I was hoping to get it out for Christmas, but there were a few last minute holdups. So January 1st, 2023, fine, new year, new book, new
Yeah,
possibilities. The School of Master Lao on Ruby Mountain, where
amazing.
young people gather around this old Chinese master to learn about great truths and have experiences with the energy worlds.
Mhm.
So I'm very happy that it's coming out finally. It's only been 12 years. I mean, it's quick, right? It's just in and out. 12, but it's coming finally.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll say about Gafnit, if people don't know her yet, well, how come you don't know about Gafnit yet? So Gafnit opened a whole education system, a set of schools worldwide, template youth a movement, which is really hosting people from all over the world in camps, summer camps, and also online connections with really amazing young people from all over the world. He's also guiding courses for parents, for teachers in her online school. She's also an author of the Good Night book. So it's really good to have you here. And just to say that I'm an astrologer and author, and I've created the astrological cards, which I think that we'll start with. And I have an astrology school, so probably we'll also see students of mine here joining the meeting as well. So maybe let's start with a short reading, and
And also you have esoteric tour around the world, called
exactly.
Misva. You already have been in Costa Rica, in Egypt. Now you go to Morocco and to Costa Rica again. And I was
Peru.
I was inspired. Yeah. So
Yeah.
lots is happening.
Yes. So
Lots
this
of
is
potential.
the card that came is the moon, which is really interesting because it so happens that we have the solstice on Tuesday and the full moon on Thursday. Maybe I'll spotlight myself if I can. No, yes, never mind. Here, okay, so this is the card of the moon, and the full moon is coming soon. And usually we meet here during the new moon and full moon. And I think that the moon cards calls for more spirituality, not to talk from the brain, to talk from the intuition. Yeah, and just to have this conversation and see what wants to happen, as we usually do. So I feel that I really talked a lot. So I think I'll hand the baton to you, Colin, with the question. Yes, because it's not only the solstice soon, it's also Christmas and Hanukkah here in Israel, the celebration of light. Okay, Colin, before your question, I will say a few words about the solstice because
Yeah,
it's
right.
really important and I can't skip that. Okay, so why is this day so special? Our world is very unique and very, very special. And we saw the card of the moon, which talks about changes, and our planet Earth goes through changes and moods and cycles. It's not random, it's kind of repetitive. We kind of know, yes, the seasons that planet Earth is going to go through. But it's still very, very unique, and this is what allows the versatility. And during these 4 seasons, there are actually 4 different gateways, uh, which are the start of each season, the beginning of a spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Today is the beginning of winter, the official beginning of winter, and it starts a December 21st here in the North Hemisphere with the shortest day of the year. Now, I have to do this explanation, although probably a lot of you already seen me do it, but this is planet Earth. And this is the sun. I actually lit a candle. There is a candle inside. So let's see, yes, if I can manage that safely. So this is the sun and this is planet Earth. And the seasons are actually created from Earth revolving around the sun. And because Earth is tilted, then we can see clearly that there is a time of year where the North Hemisphere gets a lot of light, and another time of year where the South Hemisphere gets a lot of light. And these would be the solstices. These are the times where there is the most extreme difference between the South and the North compared to what kind of amount of light they receive from the sun. And if we think about, and of course, there are the solstices, which are this time and this time, which, if you'll see, the amount of light during the day is equal in both parts. Now, if we think of planet Earth as a battery, and it is a battery, and it's energy generating, it's enough that it revolves around the sun and revolves around itself. And we know that everything that turns, yes, revolves, creates dynamo and energy and electricity, and so and magnetism and everything. So it is an amazing power generator onto itself, our planet Earth. And during this time, during this day where the north and south are in the most extreme differences, then the north becomes very minus with receiving less light, lots of darkness. The south becomes very plus because it's full of energy, full of light. And let me see if I have yes, and what we get from that is a battery, okay? Because this is how a battery works, okay? With one side very, very plus, one side very, very minus. And this means that the solstices are actually the most energetic times of the year. It's the time where the electricity, the energy, the power of planet Earth is actually at its fullest, probably with different appearances in the north and in the south. But it's really interesting that people recognized this time and celebrate it in different places. So we don't only have the solstice during this time. It's no coincidence that we also have here in Israel, we have Hanukkah, which we celebrate by lighting candles during the darkest days. And and there is Christmas, which is celebrated now also worldwide with lights and gifts. And Colin, you'll say more about that because I'm really no expert about Christmas, but it's really interesting that we have all these holidays during this time. So, Colin, my question to you, let me try to spotlight you. Um, I don't know if it will work. Okay, so I'll return to this. So, yes, uh, let's continue from here. So, what can you tell us about how Christmas joins to this time?
Okay. Yeah, it's
Or
interesting.
the other thing that you want to say?
Sorry?
Or any other thing that you'd want to say. And
It's
while you think, I'll just say hello to our friend Suzanne from Denmark who joins us. Hi, it's good to have you here. And Carrie, who is one of my astrology students. Good to see you. Hi. Yeah.
It's interesting to think, listening to you, Karni, that there are these cycles, but we're also traveling through space. So just like, what day is today? Tuesday, right? No two Tuesdays are really the same, and no two solstices are the same. And all the evidence points to that ancient people knew that a special energy is available in this period of time. And back in those times, they didn't have TV and radio and all these other things. So people were more sensitive to electromagnetism in general. Just like today, you still get some people that are more sensitive to auras and atmospheres, and they can't often express it because other people are not sensitive. So you get this kind of, it's almost like a separate language. It's not so popular. It's not so integrated, this awareness of the unseen energy fields, even though science has proved them to exist. So if you think we got like standard energies on the planet that we run, our body needs to run on, and then you think maybe at these times of year, a certain special energy came in, a special force. And then people were very wanted to tune into this. They wanted to catch this force. It's interesting that even today, the word holiday is really a holy day. The origin of it was to do with something sacred happening and people wanting to catch this special force. But intuitively, we still do. I mean, people still flock to, holy sites, Machu Picchu and the pyramids, hoping to kind of feel something beyond normal. They're hoping to have some sort of connection with some sort of higher force.
Yeah.
And so this is why that period of time was, I don't really like the word celebrated, but it was sort of recognized and made important before the Christian thing, because it's pretty clear with a bit of research that they put the date of Jesus's birth right at the time, right after the solstice, because everybody's already celebrating, right? So let's just kind of include this, because the date exactly itself nobody knows.
Yeah. Colin, can I say something before you continue? Because you mentioned Machu Picchu and you said the pyramids. You mentioned the pyramids, and I can't not barge in, because I've just been to these two places, in less than the last 4 months. And I've been to Machu Picchu with the spiritual journey I gave in July, and Gafnit and I led a journey to Egypt right now in October. And I have to say that I was really, as an astrologer and an archaeologist going there, and person that is looking for esoteric thing, it is so unique, and it is so connected to the solstices and equinoxes. Okay, because in Machu Picchu there is this very special place with 3 windows leading from nowhere to nowhere. It's just just 3 frames. Yes, not in a house, and they're pointing exactly to where the sun is. The middle one during the equinoxes, and one, where the sun points in the shortest day of the year and the longest day of the year. And actually, the shortest day of the year in Peru, which is the 21st of June, it is the most holy time of the year. They have a whole temple, which is the temple of the sun, which I can't pronounce its name because it's way too complicated, but it's designed as a snake. It's in Cusco, and it's designed with the head of the snake to receive the light of the sun at the solstice and to pass it through this zigzag shape which means energy, yes, and to hold or harness, or I don't know, do something holy with this energy so it will hold for the rest of the year, because the shortest day is actually not only the shortest day, it's also the mark of the beginning of the time where the sun's power gets stronger again.
Yeah.
So and this is the time, it's very different, the north hemisphere and south hemisphere. It's really ridiculous that we have the same holidays. I really think that you should celebrate Christmas in your winter and not in during the middle of summer. But it's really amazing how these amazing, magnificent, huge, unbelievable temples were meant to work with this energy of exactly this time, the solstice or the equinoxes, and we also need to remember that we are also these amazing machines that can be in touch with this energy. We are also temples that can be aligned to the energy that comes during this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I won't mention Egypt now. I'll leave it for another time. But it's also, you could definitely see how, the pyramids are aligned to the sun. It's a whole clock, yes, to the
Yeah.
dates. Really unbelievable.
Yeah. One of the pyramids are aligned to the solstice as well. And the solstice, the word comes from sun being still sun, because that understanding that between those two polarities, there's a kind of pause. This is the Tibetan idea of concentrating on the pause between your out breath and your in breath. And that the reason why the pause is important is new energy can drop in a pause. It's a bit like somebody playing the piano. You hear the note, but the energy came in before you played the note. So at the lowest, at the shortest day and in the longest day, the sun starts to go from shortening to lengthening, or the day starts to go from shortening to lengthening, or vice versa. And that kind of change of direction, that third state was perceived as the reason why new force could come through. And there's a clue in there. I mention it because there's a clue in there, which is it's important during this time of year to find quiet moments, because at first glance it seems like a time to celebrate, and that's fine. That's the expression of the new force coming in. But the force itself coming in to receive it, it's important to create a quiet space between the movement left or right, this third state. Did you want to say something, Gafnit? Like you kind of leaned forward like you were going to say something. Just jump in anytime. You know what me and Karni are like. We'll keep
talking forever.
Yeah. I think it's to do with the natural forces, because there is all kind of forces. There is now the internet forces. It's very strong. We are all connected to it, but it's not natural. It's based on a natural understanding that we all human are connected, all our brain connected, all our heart connected, all our kidneys connected, all our missions connected. So speaking about the natural processes of the solstice, because it's a natural process, and they had to build a temple to help people to gather around something that they all had a knowing. It was not only a belief, it was also a matter of knowing. And I want to share a little story, and it's strange that the card of the moon appeared, because 2 weeks ago we drove to the north of Israel to visit Martin Mother, and it was a full moon. And it was incredible, but we couldn't see it because of the pollution of light. And we thought, we were speaking, so do we feel the effect of the moon? Do we even see it? Because there is all the roads are full of light, and it looked like thousands of different moons, full moon. And you had to, in a way, do this in order to locate the full moon and to speak to it, to communicate with it, to feel the natural process. And I'm just wondering, how can we really feel? We know the date. Yeah, it's clear. We know the date, 21 of December. But can we really feel it? How can we, in a way, push the cobwebs of the power and the energies that belong to the technical world and connect to something that is more natural inclined, and it's accompanied us for millions of years.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's a very good point, and it's very much to do with what you're saying of pushing back other things. And what's interesting, even the ancients did it, because if you think that they had, for example, Karnak temple lined up here, and a lot of those temples around the world are lined up to specific stars, for example, you would think, well, why don't they just open up to all the stars? I mean, it's got to be good, right? I mean, all these stars, but they were so specific in their registration that they lined up a temple to effectively push back the influence of all the other stars and focus on the frequency of a particular star, which is amazing when you think where we are today, you know. And stars come into this, of course, because you got the star at the top of the Christmas tree, right? You either put a star or you put an angel, right? So, you know, there's a connection there to do with the stars. And of course, our sun is our local star. We often don't think of it as a star, but it's a small star, but it's a star, and it's like our local agent, our local star. It's a pity in a way we don't call it a star. It's almost like a subcategory to call it a sun. If we said our star, we have a special feeling when we talk about stars, don't we?
Yeah.
So that temple you mentioned, jumping back, Karni, I've got an image of that temple in Peru.
South Sun something,
The temple of the sun, where the light comes in on the solstice. Shall I go to some of those images and see where we go from there?
Yes, I'll just say hello just to our friend Rachel from Greece, who is also on the Ruby Mountain meetings with us. Hi. And Ursula had a question, so I'll put it up and then I'll say a few words about it, and then we can continue to the pictures you wanted to show us. So Ursula said, our solstice is a highlight of an issue of divine order within the planet's dance in the universe. Wow.
What a simple question.
It's a very meditative question, just to think about it. It expands your mind. Really, really, really. Yes, I think it's really beautiful. I think it definitely talks about this dance between our planet Earth and her father sun, which is, or star, which I love the terminology. So planet Earth and her star, and this dance around it, and together with that, everything revolves around everything. Yes, the moon revolves around the planet revolves around the sun revolves around the center of the galaxy. And this is also very interesting because actually just 2 weeks before the solstice, and it's every year, it's the same, planet Earth, the sun, and the center of the Milky Way, yes, are aligned. So this definitely adds a lot to all this time. You know, maybe at some point it was all together. Yes, like before some, just as most likely sometime there were only 360 days in a year and not 365. But it's really interesting that these alignments, you know, the sun in the center of the Milky Way, the planet and the sun. Now, when it happens together, and specifically this year also with the full moon coming in. So I don't have an actual answer, Ursula. I'm just saying, wow. Okay.
I guess I'd comment that it's definitely an opportunity to just like if you went up to a mountain and you caught water from a mountain stream, it's just that much more pure compared to, say, water in a puddle in the city. Everybody, if you gave the preference, everybody prefers the water from the mountain stream. But electrically, there are these differences as well. There's really, really pure energy and fine energy, and there's muddy energy, dirty energy. And I think, people gathered and they made this arrangement to catch and anchor this energy of this time, because it was pure, but also because it was not so easy to catch normally this particular or receive this particular energy, which the alchemists denominate like as silver and gold. But at this particular time of year, the stronger energy is silver. And this is why, you put silver tinsel and silver bowls and silver lights and all this type of thing. And there's an association there to do with the silver chalice, with the story of Jesus. So
yeah, Colin, just a minute. You said something which maybe not all our viewers, fully understand. If you could say just a few more words about the energy of gold versus the energy of silver. What does it mean? What does it mean that there is silver energy at this time?
Okay, well, it'll come up with the images as well. But,
great, wonderful.
So silver and gold were perceived as higher than your basic maintenance energy structure. So there's certain energies that run through our body. The Chinese know this with the meridians, and they have their fivefold, element chart of these are maintenance energies. But all through history, it was recognized that there are other higher special energies. And if you can catch or receive or tune into these energies, it's going to affect certain parts of the brain, specifically the pineal gland. And so it's a bit like when you turn your TV on with a remote control. Some sort of signal activates your TV. An invisible thing jumps and activates your TV. So the idea was the same thing, that in the presence of silver, the pineal gland comes into a kind of energy activation, and in the presence of gold as well. And that these energies are not so freely available on the planet, but they issue down from the universe. So the planet's got its kind of stock energies that run through the meridians of the planet, which are the ley lines and the dragon lines. And we catch those. They're like a gifting just to stay alive. So they run through our system, fine. But people that had a kind of urging to climb the mountain and get to that pure water, they detected that this frequency of silver and this frequency of gold is a way to deepen the human experience and step more into the human possibility. And at this time of year, silver starts becoming more available. And this jumps across to why the center of the Christmas affair is the pine tree. And we literally these days, we plonk a pine tree. Well, we did for a few decades. These days you just buy a little plastic one, right? Because we've lost the original idea of it. But the original idea of it was that the pine tree is tuned to silver. It's got the nature, the frequency of silver. The Druids knew that every tree has got its own frequency. Their alphabet was based around the frequency of each tree. And it happens that the pine tree, which is an amazing tree, it's been around 153 million years on the planet, it tunes to silver. And so, this attraction to originally going into the forest and being around the pine tree, because it's catching silver naturally, was something people did way back when. And you can start finding, once you know these things, you start finding out interesting things. Like the Siberian shamans would collect mushrooms from around pine trees to make their drinks and soups and stuff, because they knew that the mushroom was permeated with this silver force. The other thing that then gets permeated with the silver force is a pine cone, because a pine cone is an amazing little structure that comes out of a pine tree. And the pine cone has a geometrical structure that follows exactly that Fibonacci spiral. So it's like a little bit of sacred geometry right there in the pine cone. No coincidence that you have pineal gland and pine cone, right? And then this starts explaining why the pine cone turns up all around the world in different religions. In the Hindu religion, the gods are holding pine cones. In the Sumerian, Assyrian religions, they're holding pine cones. In the Catholic Church, the Pope has a staff and it's got a pine cone in the center of the staff. The Vatican has a huge pine cone. It's actually called Pine Courtyard, and there's this gigantic pine cone there. So, you think you're walking through and you think, well, what's this got to do with the Jesus story, right? A huge pine cone. But see the connection. Silver, pine tree produces a pine cone. So it's like a key or a tuned in frequency plug-in to that silver frequency. So the idea was people wanting to tune into that force. The Greeks had a god called Dionysus, and he's always shown holding a staff with a pine cone at the top. So you got this same thing recognized around the world. It didn't come from books. It didn't come because somebody, walked around teaching this. It became because people felt the power of the silver force, because not only does it activate the pineal gland, but that then gives you new ways of seeing and perceiving things. And they wanted that. They wanted this because it's natural. But there's already a kind of declension of the human potential, because the fact that we had the countries to tune into it said that we were needing help already. But along the centuries, of course, it's been even further lost. So we don't go to the pine tree in the forest anymore. Real pine trees don't get put into houses anymore, almost never. Today we have the artificial trees. So a person's putting an artificial tree up, and at some point they're going to think, why am I doing this? So the trees get smaller and smaller. We've got one that's this size, right? But at least I kind of know why. I know what's going on. But you think, well, what people are going to think, why am I putting this? And it's such a pity that it's been lost, because this is amazing understandings that when you get it, you can start tracing it back to the fact that, wow, there is this silver force coming in at this time. And you get a new appreciation of things like the tree. I better pause to breathe, otherwise I fall over. I faint for lack of oxygen.
It's wonderful to breathe. And whilst you breathe, I'm asking Gafnit if you have something to add, to open up at this point.
Just to give an example, like oak tree is more gold inclined. So I think it's a very interesting research to go in the forest and to feel with our hands. Yes. Does it feel tingling in our silver hand, in our gold hand, and where else we feel it, and to sit near it and just to start to look at forest in a different ways.
Yes. And if people want to know what our silver hand is or gold hand is, just join Ruby Mountain. We'll tell you there everything.
Exactly. Yes, just join the Ruby Mountain. There is there to explore and to also to practice, because I think it's to do with the question I want to ask both of you. And it's about, so how do I know what I feel? Is it right? Is it my imagination? Is it my fake news? Is it my coming from not being neutral and being like very possessed by something and possessed by something else. So how do I know what I feel in the forest, for example, or how do I know if I feel new force arising and what it will cause me to do? Because we are about new force arising. It's like a gift. What do I do with a gift of energy that it's only energy? It's like get a good hug or a kiss. It's like pure energy. So
Yes.
and this energy, by the way, there is something in this unique time that it's actually supposed to give us energy for not only for the moment, not only
Yeah.
to celebrate a moment, it's for the future.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, because when you talked about the energy and what do we do with it, and I think it's really important not to be pressured about, oh, I don't know what to do with the energy. I got this amazing gift of silver force. What should I do with it? Because it's like a fuel that will be with us for a very long time, and we don't need to think with the brain. Because this is like the 21st century idea. We got this energy, how best would we use it? Yes, what would be the economical way to spend our energy? Or I'm fueling my car, for how long would it last? But in energy from such high sources, you get it. It's in you. You don't need to use it. It's there. It enhances you. It's there for you for a very long time. You might find out that you feel better, like in a year way down, down the line, a year from now, during a situation where you usually didn't feel good. Yes, because you're enhanced. There is well-being in your stock. And also builds its a part of the human adventure is to collect this stardust, to collect these frequencies from the sun, from the stars, from the universe, and to add it to our aura, to our being, and slowly, to become more enlightened with that and become more like the stars. And it's not how you use it, it's more maybe of what you become, or what it allows you to be or to connect to.
Being with it.
Because of that, to be with that is a very good answer. And Colin, do you want to add to that?
Can I say
Yes.
something about the other bit? Because I love this question. The part of the question that has to do with sensing and recognizing. I love this because this is one format but the best format, of course, for this kind of conversation would be to be in the forest together with some other friends and people, and to have a live experience. But you can start in your backyard. But if there's a park, as long as you don't mind looking a bit strange to other people. But first of all, you need to kind of get neutral, because if you're going to start sensing things and comparing radiation, you've got to get neutral first. And most of us are not neutral because we've got the residue energies of the week, of the day, what we've been thinking produces energies. So you've got to kind of do a bit of a shake off, a bit like when a dog gets wet and it shakes its whole body off. You got to kind of shake off all the residue. And if you can wash your hands and think about the idea of being neutral. They used to do electrical experiments. They discovered they had to create a thing called a Faraday cage, which isolated out other electrical influences so they could get a pure result. So you're trying to kind of block out all the other influences, a bit like we spoke about earlier. And then it's about comparison. And a good way to start is understanding the hands are, really sensitive instruments, really. We know we can detect hundreds of different types of surfaces physically, but we can also detect radiations with the hand with just a little bit of practice. So a good way is to go to a tree or plant and just move your hand from one region to another, and you start to detect the difference. But your whole aura is detecting it too. It's just that we're not so tuned to our aura as we are with our hand. But
Yeah,
with a little, you go and you stand under a pine tree, you start noticing you're feeling a certain way. You're feeling brighter, you're feeling lighter. And then you go and stand under another tree and you'll feel another influence running through your system. And so it's through comparison. The marvel of the human being is that we can go home and think about the tree that we just had an experience with. And that frequency of the tree can run along a kind of mental wire and to you in your home. So life becomes really interesting because you can start building up a web of connections with these forces. Of course, it's not the tree itself, it's the force that the tree is connecting into.
Colin, I think that you're opening up something that should be a whole meeting onto itself, which we would do, which is how to go to the forest and detect the nature and to connect to trees. So we can definitely do that at
You're right.
another time. And also, again, in the Ruby Mountain, this is something that we teach, how to sense different frequencies, all about our aura. All about quietening down. So there's a lot, more, and I will definitely put the link to the Ruby Mountain so people will be able to, to look and see and join the meetings. Yes,
we look
so
at
I'm
these
trying.
images.
So the images, and yes, and just to say hello to Mahmoud first of all, who says his hellos from Egypt, and it's so good to see you. Mahmoud organized Gafnit and mine tour to Egypt 2 months ago, so it's really good that you're here. And also, when you talked about the energy, yes, just to say that there is a new journey to Costa Rica led by Gafnit and Shira Robbins, not myself this time, in March. And people are very, very March, April, and people are welcome to join it and meet the energies of the trees in the jungles of Costa Rica. So I will leave
it's February. It's February to beginning of March.
Right. Yes. So February 15th till March 2nd. This is when you have too many trips and you don't remember what goes where already. And we have another amazing comment from Ursula. Wow, it is issue of high silver from the Milky Way to the gold of the sun, mixed and issued to the silver planet and then to the humans to create human art. So again, a beautiful input. Yes, thank you.
Wow.
I am not even trying. It's not a question. I don't, because there's no way we'll answer it. It's an amazing addition. It's really beautiful. Thank you, Ursula. Really beautiful.
I think it's to meditate about it. It's not to find
yes,
an
all
answer.
these. Yes,
Wonderful,
yes.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ursula. Really. So, Colin, pictures, please. If you put them on the screen.
How long is the transmission? Is it a 1 hour transmission or 1 hour 30 minutes?
Yeah, no. It was 45. Now we extended to an hour. So we have about 10 minutes. So like 5 minutes of pictures. And in the meantime, pictures, not pictures, yes, with your explanations. And in the meantime, we really invite everybody, think about questions. You have this amazing opportunity to ask us questions about this time. So you can write them down in the chat. We'll put them up, or comments, or beautiful additions, or a poem, or whatever. So you can join in this call.
Okay, I'm just looking for the...
And just to say, Mahmoud and Gafnit and Mimo and I will be in Egypt again next year. So if you are very, very sorry that you missed the journey to Egypt this October, no worries. Next year, we're going to be there as well. Right, Mahmoud?
Yes.
Yeah. Right, Gafnit?
Karni, can you see that?
Yes. So I'll put it on. Just remember that you won't see us, but we
Yes.
We see you and the pictures. Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, so funny that you mentioned Egypt because the slides start with Egypt, and I'm just looking at the
Perfect.
time, so I'm going to do the 5-minute version. Tell myself firmly.
Huh.
Why does it start with Egypt? Because Egypt, this site of Abu Simbel is lined up so that at the solstice, the sun of the solstice reaches to the back of the temple and lights up the figures at the back. So again, you think of the effort to get that right.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then you think of the modern situation where we don't really know what the solstice is about. We certainly don't line up temples and things to catch the light of it. And so they knew something that's been lost in time, but it's not just Egypt. This is a place in Germany called Gossek, which is lined up to the solstice. You see the light comes straight through and at the time of the solstice. Back to
Karnak.
Egypt, they're a little bit mixed up.
Karnak, my love.
Karnak is lined up with the solstice with a photo. And you see people gathering. It's like intuitively knowing there's something about it. Machu Picchu.
Oh, the places I've been in.
I know, and so sad that it's in such chaos at the moment, but never mind.
Yes.
And there's the Temple of the Sun that you mentioned. Stars.
Yes.
Excuse me, at the solstice, the light coming straight through and touching the temple.
And just to say that, yes, this is the Temple of the Sun, and there is another place where there are 3 windows that marks the equinox and the 2 solstices. Wow, amazing.
This is in Mexico, a place called Tulum, where the 3, as you say, they often have 3 windows like this because it represents the positive and negative and the third vector, the third pillar of neutrality. And people gather.
Also, it really marks the point where the sun is during the solstices.
Yes, but isn't it interesting to build these temples to concentrate the mind and the attention and the faculties upon this event? Because it could be seen anyway, if you see what I'm saying, but they wanted to tune into it. This is a place in Ireland called Newgrange, where light at the solstice enters into the depths of the structure. Here it is from outside. So all around the world, people naturally detected the importance. Of course, Stonehenge. Unfortunately, today
Colin, you just gave us the list for the next Mithra journeys for the next few years.
Yeah, but you're not going to catch it with a camera. Unfortunately, you're going to catch it with your with the pineal gland.
Yeah.
So we don't need to talk about this. This is to do with the force coming in, which we always get anyway. Of course, this is why the aurora borealis, right, the northern lights and the southern lights, force coming in from the sun often turns up as green and purple. And it's beautiful display of this dance, as Ursula put it.
Yeah. Colin, I'm afraid you're frozen. Can you hear us?
A cold day of rain. It's incredible the influence of the sun. But again, it's a local star, so greater potential lies there as well.
Yes.
So here we get to the pine tree, and we already said a few things about it. And so remember, the idea was that people recognized that the pine tree was tuned to and caught the silver force that comes in at this time of year. And so people would go to the forest and they would be near the pine tree. They'll gather around it to catch this presence. But not only people. Martin Luther, the man who started the Protestant religion, he was walking at night once and he saw tiny little lights around the pine tree or in the pine tree. And he came back and he actually started the tradition of putting fairy lights in the pine tree, which we have until today, don't we? People hang up the fairy lights, and we don't really think much about it. It's like, we're going to hang up those little flashing lights, but those lights actually represent tiny little nature spirits and fairies that would gather at the pine tree because the other trees lost their leaves in the winter, but not the pine tree. And not only that, but of course the pine tree's catching the special force, and these little electrical lives of the planet would gather to catch some of this force as well. So when we get those little flashing tiny lights that we hang on a Christmas tree, it's a residue from the idea that at one time the pine tree was attracting these nature spirits. Quite amazing. Then this idea of the presence, if you say the word presence, you've got the idea of presence, but you also have the idea of presence, like a radiation of presence. And what people used to do is, they didn't go down to the shopping center. They put little objects and things around the Christmas tree, the pine tree, at the start of the lead up, at the start of the solstice. And the pine tree then, catching the silver force, would permeate these objects. So when you gave it to somebody, now the object had a presence, so it became a present. And this is why the pine tree is they take it down after the 12 days of Christmas, because the idea is that main process of catching force is finished. And just quickly, because I know we're running out of time, pine cone, squeezed out, so that tunes you into the silver. And so all through different lands you get pine cones on heads, on staffs, different religions like the Hindu religion, top of temples, Sumeria, Assyria. And it's held as something that's transmitting force.
Wow.
There's the one at the Vatican we spoke about.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Wand of Osiris. And there's the Pope with his.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few more slides there that we didn't get to, but it's enough to get a flavor of something was
definitely known. Amazing. So Eleni, our friend, said what I am thinking, which is wow. Yes, definitely. So amazing.
Yeah,
and Rachel is adding, I sat in a pine forest today and the forest was tangible. Connect and let the silver forest do the rest wherever you are. Beautiful, Rachel. Thank you so much. And also Amanda says it's very inspiring. Thank you, Amanda. Wow. So towards the end, I'm wondering maybe each one of us can give like one sentence of trying to, with what are we sending, the people to the next few days. And before that, I really want to say, Colin, thank you so much for joining us. I think I made a wonderful choice by inviting you. You added so much. It's thank you, and thank you for the presentation. And also Ursula, I think it really, yes, it was just amazing. And Gafnit, thank you so much for doing that with me now for, I don't know, 2 years at least, something like that, of doing these meetings. So let's each think, and also people at home, okay? Think, and Eleni says thank you, and think of one sentence of something that you're taking from this whole meeting with you to the next few days, okay? Try to think. Yes, we heard so many things about the silver force and the temples and the energy of the places and the pineal gland. Think of something that you want to keep with you, like in the center of you, in the stillness of you for the next few days of the solstice, of the Christmas, of the entrance to a new year. And if you want, you can write it down in our comments, and we will try to say our sentences now, Colin and Gafnit. So, what would be your sentence? Or, yeah.
Maybe the sentence, be at peace with ourselves and draw strength from the present and from the present. And for this time, but facing, really looking a day by day towards the future, and think about many places around the world that need this energy of peace, and spread it.
Amazing. So I'm adding also Susan's sentence, to be a neutral, open vessel for the higher forces to move through.
Very
Thank
nice.
you, Susan. Really beautiful.
Yeah, very nice. I guess
Colin,
I would.
what would be? Yeah.
I guess I would say that that we were made to receive this force. There's a lot more technology in a human being than a pine tree, beautiful as they are. The human is an incredible design. And so there is something in you and me that was designed to receive silver force. That's amazing. And then to make sure you stay near a finer, more beautiful sentiment, like peace, or like care, or like patience. Because if you've got more force coming in, it's going to amplify what you're feeling. And so you want to make sure that your heart, your emotions are making a point to stay near things that you want in the world. It's very easy to look at what's wrong, but try to stay in what you want, because it's going to get magnified if you tune into that silver force. So there's really two things. It's tuning into the silver, but it's going to magnify what's in you. So make sure you find a little zone of peace and patience, because it's going to magnify as you tune into the silver of this time.
Amazing. Wow. And what I am also, I'll add up also some more beautiful sentences arriving, to be open to the future and its potential. Thank you, Amanda. So what I'm going with is actually the picture of the windows in the different temples. And with the advice for people, but mainly for myself, to create the windows to the right directions, to remember to be to be aligned to the high natural things, and to push aside the other things, which probably is part of creating this alignment to the high things. So thank you very much. Until very soon. It's a very good combination, Colin. So I'm sure we will invite you again.
Yay. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very
Goodbye,
much.
everybody.
And see you next year. See you next year.
Yes, next year, 2023. Free.
Yeah, free.
Bye-bye.
Bye.